Hi there guys, got a video here for you today on the M3, and what we're going to be doing is fitting the quick tune adjustment that goes in this hole here. Right then, so this is obviously a sub 12 pound rifle, and the sub 12 pounds don't come with the quick tune adjuster installed. This is so you can't easily adjust your power over 12 pounds, as that's our legal limit. So I'm going to be installing one on my rifle, but in conjunction with that I'm also going to be installing a lock, so that once we've reached the power, and obviously we don't want to go no higher, we can lock it off so that it's fixed at that power. We'll still be able to adjust the power wheel as we need to, but for the adjustment we'll still need an Allen key to undo the lock. So first I'll just give you a shot of all the little components here. So this piece here is the back cap to stop the shaft from falling out the end and to keep it captive. This is my little lock. This is the shaft. We have two ball bearings, one M2.5 grub screw, this one down here, along with a thumb wheel, and then we also have another M3 grub screw here with two springs. Now these aren't the proper springs as supplied by FX, these are just some that I had laying around, as the people that I bought the quick tune kit off of didn't have these springs in stock. Although if you do want one of these kits, excluding the lock obviously, you can get them from Bagnall's. At the time of this recording, Bagnall's and Kirkwood have got them in stock. Right then, so let's get started. Before we start we need to make sure that the rifle is decocked. I know this one is, I checked before recording, and that we remove our bottle and drain the air out of the plenum. We're not going to be messing with anything under pressure, but it's always good practice to remove the bottle and degas the rifle before you start working on it. So first thing we need to do is make a note of where the hammer spring shuttle is set, and that's just these numbers on the side. Right then, first thing we'll remove is the power wheel, and that's just with a 2mm Allen key. There is a spring and a ball bearing behind this. R1 was stuck to the power wheel, but we'll just stick that to one side. Next thing we need to remove is the hammer spring adjuster screw. I've already removed mine to save a little time, and that's just that little screw in the side with a 1.5mm Allen key. And we'll also remove the hammer spring shuttle. This is again with a 2mm Allen key, and these can be quite tight. Some are even Loctited in from the factory, but I've already taken mine out, so mine's nice and easy. Next we'll bring back the shaft and the thumb wheel adjuster, and also the small Allen key, and what we're going to do is install the thumb wheel first. So there's a turn down section on this shaft, and we need to align that with the grub screw slot like so, and then using a 1.2mm Allen key just install the grub screw. It doesn't need to be done up really tight, and you need to make sure that the grub screw is flush with the top. If it's not flush, what will happen is the grub screw head will touch the sides of your block as you rotate it, and it will mark it, which obviously you don't want. So I'll stick that assembly to one side for a second, and next we'll install the small spring in this hole in here. So this hole down here, that's where the spring goes. So using some tweezers we'll just put that in like so. And then over the top of the spring we'll just put a dab of lithium grease on. Just a dab will do ya. This does two things. Number one, provide a small amount of lubrication for the spring and the ball, but most importantly it will hold the ball bearing in place while we do what we need to do to it. So this is a 3mm ball bearing, and we'll just put it in like so. So next we'll bring back the rod section and the hammer spring adjuster end, and we'll just slide it in loosely like so. Then with the lock pointed up, we'll just drop the assembly in the hole like that, and then with a 2mm Allen key we'll just do up the screw nice and tight, and then making sure the lock's loose, which our one is, we'll slide the thumb wheel up and then do it up. We need to get the rod touching this circular portion here, and then we bring back the end and put the little spring in the end there. Now like I said before, this is the wrong spring for here, but it's the only one I have on hand. Normally you'd put the spring in the end of the rod, then push the capping piece over, but this spring's a little big, so I'm putting it in this end first. And we'll just hook the assembly in like so. If you ever need to get this portion out, it's quite tricky. If you just pull on it from the top, it will never come out. What you need to do is get yourself a cocktail stick or something similar and poke it in from underneath. Poking it in from underneath, it will pop out straight away. So next we're going to add the locking screw to the front portion here. Now on the FX diagram it does show a ball bearing going in first, however I'm going to leave that out of mine. And the reason for that is disassembly reasons. If I ever need to take this out, I think getting a ball bearing out of that hole is going to be fairly tricky. So I'm just going to put a longer grub screw in. This really doesn't need to be done up tight and it takes no real load. So I'm pretty confident that just a grub screw in there will hold it good enough. So here's a grub screw. We're just going to stick it in. And then we're going to do that up with a ball-ended 1.5mm Allen key. Right then guys, that's pretty much it. We'll put the power wheel back on in a second, but it's fully functioning. Right then, next we can put the power wheel back on, but first we're going to need to readjust the hammer spring, like so. And then I'm just going to add a small amount of lithium grease, this yellow stuff here, to the top of that spring. And then just a small amount to the top of the power wheel. It's already got some on it, so I'll just put a small amount on and wipe off the excess. We'll take the ball off and just seat that in the spring, then put the power wheel back on. Finally, do up the little countersunk screw with a 2mm Allen key. I've found that it's best to do these screws up till they touch and then back them off 1/4 of a turn. That way the power wheel turns nice and freely and it's not all bound up. Final thing to do is reset our power to where we had it before. So I had mine right about there, just under the 2. We'll obviously need to come back with a chrono at a later date and check that, but that's where I'm going to set mine for now. And I'm going to do up the lock with a 1.5mm Allen key, just so we can't touch the power. However, we can adjust the power wheel if we need to, so we can go down in power, but we can't go up. So if we ever need to adjust the power, all we need to do is undo the little lock screw like so, and then with the thumb wheel go up or go down. The lock does slightly limit the amount of travel you have, but for sub 12L rifles I've never found myself going over the 2 mark, so that's really not a problem for me. But when we're happy, when we've got the power we want, we just set it back to where it was and lock the screw up. The final thing we'll need to do is just run the rifle over the chrono to make sure we're still under the sub 12 foot-pound limit. Right then, so that's the quick tune system installed. We've made a few other upgrades to the rifle now. We've got the 720 plenum in it. This has been plugged up fully, so it's actually smaller than the standard plenum, but I do like the look of the big plenum. I think it fills out the back of the gun a little nicer. We've also got the adjustable front valve. That has got locks on it, so you can't adjust it without taking them locks out. We've also got the angled manometer mount on this side here. I have got one of these on eBay at the moment. I bought 2 from 2 different places and they turned up at the same time. So I've put the spare on eBay, so you can see your reg pressure as you're firing. Quite nice. More bling than handy if I'm honest. But I do quite like seeing the reg pressure as you're firing the rifle. And then to finish off, we've just got a mock 700mm shroud on there. So we're still running the 500mm barrel, but it's got a mock shroud on it, so it brings it out to the same length as a 700mm barrel, as well as the 580cc bottle. Right then guys, that's going to about do it for this one. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.